Ladies and gentlemen, Jamahal Hill has joined the Allied forces in our efforts against the worm of the MMA community, Ariel Helwani. He's done it again. In an interview with Jiri Prochazka, he was stirring the pot once more and trying to basically lay up Jiri Prochazka to answer in a way that would insult Jamahal Hill and also sneak in some insults of his own in his questions that he was asking to Jiri Prochazka. We're going to not go through all of that today because I want you guys to see that for yourself. As you can see here at the bottom of the screen, as I'm scrolling along, Jamahal Hill goes through all of the moments in the interview where he sees that Ariel Helwani is still throwing shade and basically trying to lay up Jiri Prochazka to insult him in an interview and make Jiri Prochazka's answers not just answers to the questions that he was asking, but answers that had a hint of downplaying Jamahal Hill and basically down-talking Jamahal Hill. That's basically what the problem was. I'm not going to show you all of that because I guess that's the point of Jamahal Hill's video. If you want to see all of that, go over to his channel. He just started a YouTube channel called the Champ Chat Podcast with Jamahal Hill. He's got 17,000 subscribers. Make it 20. You know what I'm saying? We need all the effort we can get. We need to rally our forces against this absolute worm, Ariel Helwani. I'm going to go through the start of this video where he shouts me out as well, because I made a video basically defending him in the situation that Ariel had with him before, where Ariel was being a worm yet again. And then we're going to go through the response of Ariel Helwani. So let me just click play and you guys can have a listen. I hope you can hear this audio.
This message is for Ariel Helwani. Now, Ariel and Jiri got together last night and had an interview. And as a lot of you already know and have seen Ariel's dirty, sneaky tactics that he likes to use to get over on fighters. And he does this all the while being completely, man, just a punk about it and doesn't own up to any of it.
True. This is the problem that Ariel has. He doesn't know whether he wants to be the guy that can trash talk these fighters or the guy that can be the defender of the fighters. And don't worry, MMA fighters, I'll protect you from the evil Dana White, basically, is what Ariel tries to be. But what he doesn't realize is, if you're going to be trash talking the fighters and sending shots at these fighters, that's okay. You know what I mean? I've trash talked fighters. But I don't then get to go and say, no, I didn't. You're the one in the wrong. You just don't understand what I'm saying. I don't get to gaslight them into thinking that it's all them being emotional and I'm not actually insulting the fighter. If I've insulted a fighter like I insulted Merab Dvalishvili, I'm not going to be in an interview with Merab and say, no, I didn't. You're in the wrong for taking it that way and completely gaslight him. You can't have both, Ariel. If you want to live this life of being able to say what you want, you got to be able to face the consequences if they do so arise. You don't get to live both sides of the fence here, where you can trash these fighters, and then all of a sudden when they're in front of you, you're their best friend, right? No problem here. I'm your best friend. What do you mean you don't like me? Oh, that was another interview when I was trash talking you. You're in front of me now, so I can be loyal to you. Basically, the problem with this is that Ariel Helwani is one of these people who's loyal to whoever is in front of him at the time. And that's a bad person. We're going to keep going now.
Keep throwing shade at me. You have an agenda, have a problem with me for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's due to the fact of last time when I came on your show, after my championship fight, you tried your tactics on me. And
True. That's the video I made. Going after Ariel, I think it's got like 99,000 views. Probably going to hit 100K now that Jamahal Hill shouted it out, so thank you, dude. Probably going to hit 100K of breaking down Ariel's interview with Jamahal Hill, where he basically tried to paint... I'm not even over-exaggerating when I'm saying this. He basically, as soon as he realized he couldn't win a verbal argument on a minor level with Jamahal Hill, he basically tried to, for lack of better words, paint Jamahal Hill as a man who is okay with Dana White slapping his wife in the face and a man who is okay with men slapping women in general. So, I'm not even over-exaggerating that. You can go and watch that video if you want to check it out, and that's what Jamahal Hill's talking about here.
And they didn't work. You thought that I was just another dumb fighter.
He was
somebody
wrong.
that you could just run circles on verbally, and it didn't work out for you. And people saw you for what you really were. And in that, you're now upset, and every chance you get, you're just taking shots at me. Like, these are just blatantly just shots. Oh, and if you care to watch and see this interview that I'm talking about, you can go. There's actually a streamer online. His name is MMA Guru.
Hey, that's his name. And he called out Ariel and has been calling out Ariel for the past however many years now. And he still won't mention me. And there's a moment where Ariel's going to invite Jamahal Hill on the show. I really hope I come up in conversation, because that's one name that will not come out of Ariel's mouth. Seems to be a lot of stuff coming out of Ariel's mouth, not my fucking name. Thank you, Jamahal Hill, for the shout out.
There's actually a streamer online. His name is MMA Guru. He did a breakdown of the interview. He did a very, very good job on that breakdown. Go and watch that video and you see for yourself, and you see the things that I'm talking about. First of all, we all know Ariel. The nerdy, goofy, soft, punk dude who's admitted multiple times, oh, I would.
One more time.
First of all, we all know Ariel. The nerdy, goofy, soft, punk dude.
Bitch.
Who's admitted multiple times, oh, I wouldn't fight out. I wouldn't fight. I don't think I. Punk dude. Who's admitted multiple times, oh, I wouldn't fight out. I wouldn't fight. I don't think I could do. I could dare. What if violence acts like like somebody's nana or something?
You Kiesa's up in there.
Has the nerve to disrespect fighters on the show while claiming to be a real journalist.
And that's the thing. That's the extra bit that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, you can have something you don't like about a fighter. A fighter can do something that you're annoyed by. You know what I mean? But then don't start playing this other side of, I'm pro-fighter. Don't say that about the fighters. You know what I mean? You can't have the best of both worlds. That's being a worm. You know what I mean? I need to, like, what is it, like the enemies that you know rather than the allies you don't? Like the enemies you don't? Like, you'd rather know that someone's against you rather than them actually being against you, but in front of you they're acting like your friend. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the worst enemy you can have.
On the show, while claiming to be a real journalist that's here for the fighters.
This is it.
Speaks for the fighters. That's all about the fighters. That's all about this and that.
It seems to me, I'm going to leave it here and you guys can go through the rest of the video. I'm not going to steal all of his content here. It seems to me like Ariel's only Mr. Pro Fighter when he can take a dig at Dana White or two. You know what I mean? But then when it's time to actually be pro fighter, when there's no gain of putting down Dana White, it seems like Ariel's real quick to try and 10-7 these guys and make them out to be something that they're not. I'm not going to go through the rest of his video. This is only 2 minutes in to the video. There's another 16 minutes of him. I'm just going to skip through it here. Going through the interview with Jiri Prochazka. Why am I getting an advert here? Potatoes, toast, airlines. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I'm not interested. Here we go. He goes through the rest of the interview with Jiri and just breaks down some of the key moments where Ariel is taking little digs at him and leading Jiri to have little digs at him as well. Because let me tell you something here. Jiri was saying some stuff, but here's something you got to understand. When people don't speak English as their first language, your questions are kind of like when you do a wind-up doll and you just let it go in a certain direction. You know what I mean? You have kind of full control over where a conversation is going to go when you are talking to someone who doesn't have a good grasp of the English language. So although we can sit here and insult Jiri, it's very hard as someone who doesn't really understand English to not go along with a question. I hope you guys understand that. I'm trying to break that down in the right way. So Ariel, when he's in these interviews with fighters that don't speak the best of English, he can really lead the conversation in a certain way. Because oftentimes when you're listening to a language you don't understand, you pick up on words and you follow back on those words and topics as you're giving your answer. You know what I'm saying? Like when I learned at basic level French, you pick up parts of their question and that indicates sort of where you should go with your answer. So it's very hard to sort of like steer off the path of questioning and go into like a monologue about something when you don't have a good grasp of the language. So when Ariel plants these little seeds of digs at Jamahal Hill within his question, Jiri's answer is almost inevitably going to come back around and mention a little dig at Jamahal Hill. You know what I mean? So that's all I wanted to say about this bit. We're now going to go over to Ariel's response. But if you want to see Jamahal Hill basically dissect Ariel Helwani and expose him as the absolute frog that he is, then check out Jamahal Hill's video on YouTube. I'm not going to show you any of the juicy bits here where he tears him to shreds. We're going to Ariel's response. Look at that little worm. Let's have a listen.
The former UFC light heavyweight champion who has had some things to say about me on his YouTube channel and over the last few months. And I don't know where we got off on the wrong foot, because the last text conversation that I had with Jamahal.
This is what he does. I don't know where we got off on the wrong foot. He's made it very clear where he thinks you guys got off on the wrong foot. I've made it very clear the moment that you guys got off on the wrong foot. This isn't like, I don't know what I possibly could have done. You know what you've done. But this is the problem that Ariel's going to have whenever they do have their confrontation, is that he cannot own up to doing something wrong to incite. Like, you know what I say, yeah? I've said this so many times. Bullying is wrong. Some people need a bit of bullying, okay? But being bullied is almost determined by how someone reacts to being attacked. It doesn't matter like where the attack comes from at times. Now that is the legitimate reason for a bully, where the attack comes from. If it's for no reason, that's a bully. But nowadays we call people getting bullied just people that are the victims of attack. But sometimes, in very, very particular circumstances, they fucking deserve it, because they're the one instigating things. No matter how they act as the victim and like, no, don't say that. I'm just trying to be nice to everyone and these guys are taking it wrong. No. You don't get to play that game anymore, Ariel. We're on smoke with Ariel Helwani.
About me on his YouTube channel and over the last few months. And I don't know where we got off on the wrong foot, because the last text conversation that I had with Jamahal was actually a very nice and cordial one.
Because that was before you had the interview with Jiri, where you did your old bullshit again. So you can go back to these old text messages that he loves to bring up with the Paddy Pimblett situation, and now he's bringing it up here as like his receipts, as he'll go on to say. That's before you do your little twisty, malevolent things to get on these fighters' nerves. It's not that you're getting on these fighters' nerves. It's that you're getting on their nerves intentionally and acting like you're not. Like I said, I've insulted Merab. I had bets on Thiago Santos when Jamahal Hill beat him. I've had angry moments. You know what I mean? Get in shape, fatty. Like I've said things. But I'm not here like, never insult the fighters. They deserve the ultimate respect. I don't get to be that guy. But I do get to call you out on your hypocrisy. You worm.
But for whatever reason, there's been a bit of a heel turn as of late. And so I don't think...
But for whatever reason, there's been a bit of a heel turn. Are you listening to the words this worm uses? So he does something wrong to Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill feels a way about it. This ain't the WWE, you absolute creep. I know you're a big fan of that, but I stopped being a fan of it when I was 10 years old. That's when everyone should stop being a fan of it. Let's be real. You nonce. Either way, he's not a nonce. I'm joking. Either way. The heel turn of Jamahal Hill. So this is the world Ariel lives in. He can do whatever he wants. And if anyone has a negative reaction to it, this guy's fucking turning heel. What's he doing? He's having a heel turn. No, he's giving you the response you deserve for your actions.
I think that this is the platform and the moment to get into a whole battle, a whole 10-7 situation. And I think that despite the receipts...
You see this? See what he said there? That's almost a threat. This isn't the platform to get into a whole...
battle, a whole 10-7 situation, and
a whole 10-7 situation. You see that little warning he gave? He's such a worm. This isn't the time to get into a whole 10-7 situation. Like, I could slam this guy to pieces, but this isn't the time or place. That's basically what he's saying. I almost admire his absolute delusion here.
I think that despite the receipts and despite him getting a lot of things...
They aren't receipts. They're messages before you did what you did again to deserve a reaction.
Wrong. By the way, a guy who I reached out to his manager about just 2 weeks ago when he suffered his injury to wish him the best and also to introduce him to a YouTube guy to help him out with his channel. No problem.
No problem, dude. You did all this nice stuff. And then you really started taking digs at him in another interview and riled up Jiri Prochazka to talk trash about him as well. So you do all this nice stuff. So what's the problem, dude? I did nice stuff for you. Why can't I be a dick to you as well? Basically what Ariel's saying again here. So he does a little nice thing, and then he does his little digs that he does on his interview. But he's like using the nice things that he did to sort of like justify his actions here. That removes it being a nice thing. If you're doing a nice thing for someone, just so later on you can annoy them and then use it as leverage as to why they shouldn't be that mad at you, that's not a nice thing. That's like a little, I don't even know a bribe almost, like an incentive. Like you're doing that for you, not for them now, just so you can have some kind of leverage over them. That's Ariel's mind there.
It's all good. I come here with love in my heart, and so what I want to say to Jamahal Hill, because a lot of you are asking me to respond to Jamahal Hill, this is what I want to say. You keep talking about being a man and all this stuff. I would like to extend an invitation to you, Jamahal Hill, who I have nothing but respect for, and I think that your thoughts on the way I think about you are very wrong. I'd like to extend an invitation to you to come in studio on my program and we could hash it out.
I'd love that, because I'd love for my name to be popped up at some point and to see Ariel absolutely squirm.
Mano a mano, man to man. We could talk about the issues and hopefully we can squash the beef. I would love that opportunity. And in case you think...
Here's the problem though. Hopefully we can squash the beef. The problem with this is that squashing the beef when you, and this is like social dynamics 101 over here. When one person is the worm pretending to be a victim and one person is going on the aggression, the person going on the aggression is almost like forced to meet backwards to the middle ground. You know what I'm saying? They're forced to concede their points in order for it to be squashed. Whereas that's because Ariel's put himself on the defense here. He's put himself now as the victim that hasn't done anything wrong. So the only logical thing is for him, basically, his version, I'm going to bet you, of squashing this beef is for Jamahal Hill to take back his aggression and for them two to be friends again. When it shouldn't be on Jamahal Hill to do that. It should be on you not to create this situation in the first place. You don't just get to keep creating these situations and then returning back to neutral. And then you annoy him again in another interview and then you return back to neutral because you squashed the beef again. Sometimes you don't get to return back to neutral, dude. But that's what he's going to try and do. He's going to try and get Jamahal Hill to no longer be angry at him and for them to move on. And I bet you in another few months' time, he's going to say something like, oh, Jamahal Hill doesn't deserve to get the title shot when he comes back, or something like that. Or he'll ask Alex Pereira, and do you think that Jamahal Hill would deserve a title shot when he comes back? Because some people say that he doesn't deserve a title shot. I bet you he'll do something like that in a question. It'll annoy Jamahal Hill again, and he'll be like, come on, what the heck? Let's squash the beef. Why are you so emotional? You know what I mean? He's such a worm.
That I'm trying to get you to my studio as some sort of, ruse or trap. Absolutely not. I know you just had surgery. I know you just got injured. If you'd like to come on via Zoom, I would love to have you on. Pick a day next week, pick a day the following week. I would love to have you on to figure this out, to settle this, because I think there's a lot of misinterpretation. And
he's so sassy with it as well. Misinterpretation. And he does his little hand move. Like he's going to get him. Like, how is there misinterpretation, dude? We're looking at your words you are saying. You're going to say you didn't mean them that way. That's not a win for you or like a misinterpretation. Like, you do this so it can be misinterpreted. That's the problem with this, Ariel. You throw it out there so you still have like a contingency plan to be like, well, that's not what I meant by it. But we know it is, though, man, because it's so often this way. And I feel like after Ariel Helwani got attacked by Dana, and who else went after Ariel Helwani? Brendan Schaub, Paddy Pimlet. Everyone immediately saw him as a victim, even though he's been doing this shit for literally decades in the game. Those 3 instances made people see Ariel Helwani as this defender of the truth, and he's the real good guy in the scene. Even though outside of those 3 instances, he's basically been the antagonist this entire, he's been stirring up everything the entire time. And I like him for that. I used to like his interviews because he used to do that. But you don't get to do that and then play the Mr. Nice Guy, everyone love me type thing. You know what I mean? A cost of me talking about the fighters like I do is that I get a ton of hatred. It's justified. They are not haters. I am justifiably hated. But I'm also got a small community for myself that like me as well for it. But I don't get both sides. You can't play both sides, Ariel. You worm. Again, I love that word for him.
And in case you think that I am trying to get views, I don't cut up the videos. I'm not making 20-minute monologues about you and all that stuff. But in case...
That was a dig. I'm not making 20-minute monologues about you and stuff. That was a dig because Jamahal Hill's video is close to 20 minutes of him making a video about Ariel. I don't cut up the clips. I'm not making 20-minute monologues about you and stuff. That was a dig at Jamahal Hill for doing that to him. Just want you guys to know. He's sneaky. He's so sneaky, dude.
Views, I don't cut up the videos. I'm not making 20-minute monologues about you and all that stuff. But in case you think I'm trying to get views, clickbait, all that stuff, I'll tell you what, if you do come on the show, I will give you the full entire interview and you can post it on your YouTube channel. You can cut it up. You can post the entire thing. You can have all the views that you want. And I'll only promote that link. I won't even promote my own. And so the invitation is...
You don't get to say you don't do stuff because now from the point on that you've been called out for it, you're not going to do it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, you obviously do ask these questions to rile up attention and to build more interesting answers, which is good. But accept that you do. You don't get to then say, I don't do that. You do. And that's why it's good. You can ask those questions, but back yourself on that. Don't start going, oh, I don't do that. Because from our interview in the future now, I won't do it. Like, no, that's not how it works. You've already done it.
Is extended. I would love to have you on to talk it out. Just like I called you and you sent me the voicemail when all this initially popped up. I like to deal with things behind the scenes. I like to figure things out. Of course, I'm going to talk about...
Yeah, because then people can't see you for the worm that you are. You like to figure things out behind the scenes, don't you? Where you can say what you want and the internet can't decide what they think about it and people can't have their own interpretations of it and dissect what you're really doing. You don't like it in the public eye when you can't control it. But when you know you can slam dunk mentally backwards people like Brendan Schaub, Paddy Pimblett, when you know you have an advantage over them and they aren't going to stand their ground like Jamahal Hill did, then you go after them, don't you? But when they can actually defend themselves articulately, like Jamahal Hill can, and dissect what you've been doing and prove that you're wrong, now this should be done behind the scenes. I'm not really the guy that brings this all out in public, but you are that guy when you can win. But when you can't win, like this situation, you like it all behind the scenes. I've heard that about Ariel. Loves it behind the scenes. Either way.
About you. You're one of the biggest stars. I'm going to ask Jiri Prochazka questions about you, but I'd love to figure this out. And so the invitation has been extended. You want to come on the show in studio or via Zoom? I would love to have you. And let's figure this out and squash this and move forward in a positive way once and for all. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed all that because all of you kept asking me to respond. That's the way in which we are going to respond.
See how he said that we can move on in a positive note after all? Him making that the end goal means that if Jamahal Hill doesn't accept his apology and move forward positively, Jamahal Hill's the one in the wrong in this beef. He's presetting the win condition of the argument. It will be the good thing if we can move on in a positive fashion. When in reality, that would require Jamahal Hill to back down. So basically, if Jamahal Hill doesn't back down on his show and settle the beef completely and act like Ariel didn't do anything wrong and move on positively, now it's not resolved because of him. Even though it's you! You worm. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. We're rallying the forces stronger against this absolute worm. And I'm going to revolt the whole scene against him. He's such a worm, dude. Too long he's gotten away with it, but no more. See you later.